Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
And happy Hacktoberfest to you all.
Happy Hacktoberfest to you too.
Oh, thank you, Eowyn. Great to see you again. And again, we have some special guests with us. Coming back, I guess I didn't scare them off. Jamie and Brian are rejoining us. And first timer, Riel Schmidt, has joined us. So welcome to all of you. And this is our fourth and final Hacktoberfest Thursday afternoon summary. But Hacktoberfest isn't over, of course, so October is over. So we still have all of that scary day on the 31st to finish doing that officially Hacktobering. And I'm not sure about, well, I'm pretty sure most of the other programmers and developers who have been working on this probably might have a little bit more to do. They may not be quite done on Monday. I know I will certainly have things left to do that I will continue to work on past that. But anyways,
the goal is to never be done, right?
The goal is never, you're right, Brian, that's exactly it. Well, programmer's work is never done because there's always users who want more. Wouldn't it be nice if it did this? Or, yeah. So I call those requests WIBNIs, WIBNI. Wouldn't it be nice if? And anyways, so that'll be fun. But let's see who we have with us in the chat. Tommy Book from Louisiana is joining in. Jamie's doing dual role, watching and participating. Jeff, how you doing there? Candace, Yutta is here, and Kay. It's great having you on last week there, Kay. John Tyner from Ireland. Stuart, Mohavilan, Hillary, Stephen. I said hi to Jeff already. Kathy Nava is here as well. Okay. And there'll probably be others that'll come in and join and whatnot. What do we call it in November? We might call it sleep. But not until after WikiTree Day in the symposium, because those are huge things. And Eowyn there has been one of the key movers and shakers for all that stuff. So how's that going, Eowyn?
Awesome. I'm super excited. We have almost 1,600 people registered for it. And, 24 hours of speakers, 12 hours of everything you might ever possibly want to know or hear about WikiTree. Like, we have trivia games and bingo games, giveaways, prizes.
Wow. Yeah.
It's going to be
That's
fun
great.
weekend.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of learning, lots of amazing sessions. If you haven't already, check out the list of sessions that are available on the symposium day, the Friday. And then there's lots of cool stuff on the Saturday as well, including a technology panel, which will be the official closing of Hacktoberfest, where we will get a chance to talk and show off again stuff that has happened during this project, and maybe chat a little bit about possible future things. So there we go. So let's dive in to what has happened this week. And this week, lots of things have been happening. On the dynamic tree side, there have been lots of new views that have been just added. Brian, you've been going crazy keeping up with all those pull requests and adding things. What's it like from your end having to do that?
It's a good problem to have, right? The goal of the dynamic tree project was to bring in more developer energy and users that wanted to see things, being able to make those things happen as part of WikiTree. So, having lots of pull requests to review and merge in is a good thing.
Excellent. Good. Well, let me share my screen, and we can start looking at some of those. So when you first get into it, and just as a quick reminder, you can get into the new dynamic tree from any profile. You just have to go to the profile menu. So that's the menu that has the WikiTree ID at the top. Right next to my WikiTree, it says So I'm on Annie Ella Little. So this is her WikiTree ID. You go down and click on Wiki Dynamic Tree, and then it'll automatically load the tree. Now, it loaded the fan chart. Is that because I was on fan chart last, or is that just the default one, Brian?
It remembers what you last viewed, and I guess that's a conversation to have about the menu item, because we can specify a particular view, and the menu item isn't doing that, so it just shows you what you had before. Probably we want to, from the menu item, change it to go to the base tree, but I'm not sure what people prefer there.
Right. Yeah. Because I always jump to this page. I mean, before we had the dynamic tree in such an easily accessible spot, this used to be my jumping off spot, especially when I had an ancestor who had filled it out. It would be easy to grab, jump back in time to somewhere. So a view like that I found very helpful. So that's a interesting point that we should talk about. But where was I here? I was showing you. Okay, so there's the dynamic tree, and that's the one we started with. That was there, and you can see, looking at the menu. Oh, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see we now have an impressive number of views. 10 of them altogether, if I've counted right.
Ooh, printer friendly.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you a quick tour through some of the ones that are new this week. The dynamic tree is the one that we started with, and so that hasn't changed much, I don't think, this week. At least not visually, not on the outside, but there might be some changes that have happened in behind it. The on and Toffel list is I have to hit go. Breaks down all your ancestors by generation, and then gives you links to that with unique numbering. That's not new. I'm going to come back to the ancestor webs because I've done some more work on that. The family anniversaries is one that, where are we here? There we go. This one was newly added this week, and this was you're gonna have to help me, Brian. I think this was Steve's, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this is still a work in progress. There's a few, text updates that need to be made, and probably some behind-the-scenes code efficiencies that we're going to do. But the basics of that are working. It takes the profiles from your watch list and organizes them by sort of effective date: birthday, death day, marriage day, and then you can kind of browse through the calendar to see what anniversaries are in the given month.
So if I want to see what else happened on January 16th, my birthday, I could see that I share I share birthday with someone I'm not sure how I'm connected to.
Well, you're managing it, so
I don't know these people. Who are these people? But it is cool that it's not just birthdays and death days and marriage anniversaries too. Very neat. And I know someone had requested that, can you put this in a traditional grid form too, which would be kind of fun and challenging. With this many people, I guess you'd want some way to filter it probably, right?
Yeah, I think, there's a couple of different enhancements that are being considered. And, one of the nice things about it being in the open source repository is, other people, once the view's in there, other people can jump in and say, oh, well, here's an option that would be great. So, making a traditionally gridded calendar, you'd have to limit what's shown in each square or allow filtering in various ways in order for it to sort of work as a view. But that's definitely something that is in the list of issues or potential improvements.
Yeah. So this one's exciting. Very cool. Family group view. I don't remember if this one was here last week or not.
This one I think is also new, and it's a replacement for a similar page that we have elsewhere on WikiTree, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And this one we saw last time. I know that was there, but there are some visual things that he's the highlighting here and the ability to grab onto someone and then change to their timeline. That's kind of neat. And I'm going to come back to the fan chart and fractal chart in a sec. And Eowyn, you were excited about the printer-friendly version.
Yes.
Yes. So this looks a lot like that original page, the family tree and tools page,
nice.
but without all of the extra icons and bibbidi bobs. So you can print this off really nicely. Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. From the conversation going back and forth, I remember the one sort of caveat is that there are some families who either have, their names or their locations are very wordy, and so some of those just don't always fit on the one page. So there's a bit of spillover sometime, but that was happening with the previous version anyways. So, and in most printers now or laptops, you have the ability to change your settings. So if you just tweak your settings to print at say 80% instead of 100%, if you look into the advanced settings, that's usually an option. Then you could get even those nasty ones to fit on one page.
Yeah, and a lot of them even just have a simple checkbox to say fit on one page, and then the fact that it's bleeding over a little bit down the bottom because the content is too long can be overcome. But for a lot of starting profiles, it fits just fine on one page the way it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Of course, if you check the fit to page, that means you don't get to do any nice math, though. So, oh well. But that's probably a nice option. And then the surnames list, we had seen that one before, and I don't think this one has changed any this week. Before I go and show you the changes that I've made to the three apps that I was on, I invited Real to join us, and he's been working on a modification of the dynamic tree, which he calls the couples view. And would you like to share your screen now and walk us through what you've done, or it's not published yet, so you won't be able to see it right away. But this, I thought it'd be kind of neat to see a sneak preview of some work that's being done. So I'm going to stop sharing, and let's see if I can get. Okay, I've lost the button. Alesh, can you push the button for me to share Rail screen?
Okay.
Nope, that's mine still.
Aha.
There we go.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take it away.
Okay. So, as was said, this is a couples view. I found that the normal dynamic tree doesn't show me enough information because you only see the person and not their spouse and children, and sometimes you just want to quickly see who is this person again and get a little bit more information. And I found that this view, which is similar to the one that's on family tree, family search, I found quite useful. So I try to emulate what they have there. And this is still just a preview, and still has some styling issues, and there are also some glitches in it, which will pop up as I explain. But the idea is that for every person, like here, I'm looking at my grandfather, and so he is the central focus of this dynamic tree, and his spouse, and then all their children, and this shading indicates which are the children that is in the bloodline. And the idea is then also that you can remove subtrees and get them back if you want. I don't know why that popped up again, but I think I had expanded it earlier, and when I refreshed here, that popped. So there are still some glitches in this thing. But so yeah, I mean, I can hide it again and pretend it wasn't there, or just expand it, add it again. And if I want to know the children, you can click on here and it will show you all the children here. Or like this Richard Barry had more than one wife, so you can see all his wives there. Some of the issues here, for example, is we have a stacking problem, but hopefully you can figure out how to fix that at some point.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's similar to the other one in that it will expand, but if it gets too big and you want to prune some of it, it's very easy to prune at any point, and you can just click on the minus and it will collapse that subtree. And the rest is still there, shows you the pop-up, and you can go to that person, or you can make that person the subject of a new dynamic tree, similar to the old dynamic tree. The coloring is sort of a blue and a pink, or a blue and a red, except for people who don't know what their if the gender isn't clear in the record or unknown, then
because of privacy, you mean?
That's basically it.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for showing that. That's very exciting as it comes along. I like that, the ability to be able to see more than just that one sort of pedigree line, but to flesh it out and get a sense of the whole family. So that's neat. Yeah, looking forward to continued development there. Okay, so I'm going to take over again. I think. Okay. So let me see, what have we got here? I think we'll start with the fan chart. The fan chart, what I've done this week is I was successfully able to add some settings to the fan chart, and you can see that now the default setting when you open up a fan chart will be to have a colored background. So in fact, let me zoom in a bit so you can actually see individual people. And right now I've got five sets of options, and you can change, show their middle initial if they have one. These people, because they're French Canadians there, my English side have middle names or middle initials. So you can change that, or you can hide their middle name completely by just, my birth father had a nickname, which is kind of funny. Twick. Apparently he was he was always moving about, and he got called Twick because he was just always tapping or something. He was a drummer apparently as well. So
they can't sit still.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where he got that from. And the decision I made when I made this setting, so you can open it and close it by clicking the settings gear, or you can close it by hitting the red X in the corner there on the sort of opposite side, is that as long as you can make a change, save that change, and it'll automatically, once you hit the save button, it'll redo the view. It'll update what you're looking at based on those new settings, but it doesn't hide the settings panel because for me, often I'm just testing things out and I don't necessarily know the version of what I really want to see. So the dates, you could either take away all the dates, or you could show just the birth date. Yeah, let's see. Or you could just show the lifespan. Both birth and death, and the same sort of thing with places. Again, you could get rid of locations altogether if you want to have a smaller, cleaner look, And or you can limit it to just the birth locations. And then I've also allowed you to choose what kind of location. So, but if you choose the full location, you get everything that was entered in that location field in WikiTree. But what I've also done is I've parsed that based on the commas in that field. And my assumption is the very first chunk of text before the first comma will be the name of the town. The very last chunk of text will be the country. The second last will be the region, which would be like the state or the province. And if there's another chunk somewhere in between the town and the state or province, well, you'll have to go to full if you really want to see that. But if you wanted to say, just figure out, what state or province were people born in, you could choose that, and then you'd see. For my family, it's a whole bunch of Ontario, Canada, and Quebec, Canada, until you go far enough back in time. I obviously didn't. That ring got ignored, so pretend you didn't see that. And then I also had features so you can turn on or off the photos, or you can hide the silhouettes, and then the coloring. And so I've got some of the coloring features that are in the current live version of the app, the standalone version. Not all of them, but some of them. I've got different. I'll zoom out a bit so you can see a little bit more of the default choice is pastel colors by generation. So every ring has its own coloring. And Tommy, who's here in the chat, actually helped me pick out this palette. In fact, most of these palettes are ones that Tommy helped me out with. So thank you for that again, Tommy. And if I need more help, I know where to go. So there's the shades of gray or red. Not Finnegan. He's quiet here, but he's looking up now. Yes, you've got a friend talking to you. Oh.
Molly, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And then the rainbow, my rainbow's not, I have to rejig the logic for the rainbow because the red should be on the outside, right? And that's a little
Not
dark.
a real rainbow.
What's that?
It's not a real rainbow.
That's definitely not a real rainbow, yeah. So all the colors are there, they're just not in the right order.
You're just missing orange, which is the most important WikiTree color.
Oh, well, let's see. It's got to be here somewhere. Oh, no. Oh,
red,
no.
orange, yellow.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. Where did the orange go? That's okay. We'll have to fix that for sure. And then psychedelic. Oh, there's an orange there.
Whoa.
Yeah. But if you don't want to go by generation, I do have by gender. If you want to alternate that way, which with psychedelic is really not it's kind of wild. By grandparent, and you can go all the way up to 3 times great grandparents, which is kind of hard to see unless you've got a lot of generations. There, you can see there. This Jules Dumont, it would be one of my 3 times great. So this ring here is the one that has the unique ones and all the ancestors from that person on. We'll go like that. And then I had because I didn't have time to implement for this week. The other option in the standalone app is to color it by town, province, or country, which will be an option eventually, but it's not here. So I just throw in a brand new option, just totally random, which just gives you like a crazy patchwork quilt. I'm not quite sure why someone want this, but it's kind of, but that's what you get. That's what you get.
It's kind of fun to just look up.
Yeah. Now, maybe that'd be maybe be more calming if we did that in blues, totally randomly shades of blues. So that's a little more calming. Anyways, that's the work that I did on the fan chart this week. And then the fractal one, basically, once I got that working there, I thought, well, why not share the love? And so basically imported all those same options, including the coloring, into this one. So if I put a few more generations on there, 5 generations is a nice one to look at. You can see the coloring there. What's neat about the fractal one, because remember, let me just remind you how the fractal tree works. Let me close that up. For those who weren't here when I first showed this off, it starts off with a central person and then their parents on each side of them. And then each of those parents get parents on each side of them, and it grows out. And it's a fractal because the pattern going horizontally then vertically just keeps on in infinitum. And you get this really cool, neat shape. But what's neat about that is that if you switch to the grandparent coloring, then you see the quadrants. You see how there's the green quadrant, the yellow quadrant, the light brown color, and the pinkish quadrant. And if you go up another level, you'll see sort of patterning within that. And then if you add another generation, then you see it's like you have clusters around each of those great grandparents, which is kind of cool. In fact, when I was first delving into my birth family, and especially on the French Canadian side, because it just goes so far back, I actually used a version of this to expand it, because I would get to the central person in the middle, like so. This person, so Marie Eugénie Alphonsine Labonté. So I'd get to her, and by using this view, I could sort of focus on her family and her ancestors specifically, and not be distracted by all the other ones. So that's just one way I used that particular one. So the other app that I worked on this week is I added some. Again, I added some settings. I was really in a settings mode this week. And so I added some settings to the Ancestor web. So once I showed it off last week, immediately someone in the chat, and I'm sorry, but I can't remember who it was exactly. I think it was a Stephen. It wasn't Stephen who was a guest, but it was another. I think it was another Stephen. I could be wrong though, so I apologize if I was. Said like, instead of single initials, which is what I had originally, can you show at least two initials, like first and last? So I have a hope of figuring out who each of these ancestors are. So I added that as an option. And in fact, if they have a middle name, then I added an option for showing that as well. And again, what this is, you have the full pedigree, or if you choose unique, then it takes that chart, and where there are two that overlap, it just joins them together. So Francesco, for example, appeared twice over here. There's Francesco in orange there and Francesco there. So in the unique view, we just merged him together. So he just shows once. Everyone shows once in this one. And then the repeat view, those that aren't repeated, those branches get lopped off for clarity's sake. So this branch here, GS and CN, so Concetta and Giuseppe, they're not repeats, so we're going to ignore them for this view. And then there you see. And the single view, what's new this week is I've got different settings for whether you're looking at a multi-ancestor view, like this one, where there's more than one ancestor at a time, or if you're looking at a single ancestor. So in this one, the focus is on the path to Caterina. So you can change the options down here. And so you can either use the short name, which is one of the options that the dynamic tree used, or if you really want the full name, then you can choose that. And then as you go through, you can just sort of see how they're related. And I added under paths, there's last week, I think when I showed this off, I only used the jagged path, which is basically just an excerpt from the previous view, from the repeat here. I just sort of took where they were here and erased all the other lines I didn't care about and just used those lines. And in most of those cases, that means you're going to get sort of a ragged path from the bottom to the top. But if you prefer a smoother path, then I've put that there, so it's a little easier to read. But one of the things I've done, I'm going to close this up now. this week is I've expanded, so you can go up as far as, I believe, 12 or 14 generations. So if you look at my, no, this is Anna. So what we want to do is we want to go look at me. So here's me at 9 generations. So I have to go 9 generations back before I finally find 2 ancestors that repeat. So there's Francois and Suzanne. So you'll see they show up here and they show up over here. Okay. And if I go into the repeat view, you just see, come on. There they are. I lost them. Let me zoom up a bit. Zoom in. You can see there. That's the path to them. Pretty boring. I add 1 more generation, and instead of 2, I now have 23. And so that's what my web of ancestors looks like. These are all the ones that are colored are the ones that repeat, that I descend from at least 2, in some cases 3 times. And if you keep on going, it just gets nutty. But so you can zoom right in and see all the crisscross. And if we go into the single view, then you can see how that looks, which is kind of cool because some of these have some really neat combinations. Like that one there is anyways, that's new. That's what's new on the views. I will stop talking about that now. And
Hey, Greg.
Brian, what's that?
One thing you should put in your queue to consider is how we could link to this tree with not just a starting ID, but with the destination options, because then we could link directly from the special relationships page that people can already see on wikitree.com, where it lists the connection, and then they could jump into a dynamic view of that and explore it in a different way.
Oh, excellent. That's a great idea. And actually, one of the things I did add is I added 3 new menu items over here, which don't do anything yet, but this is a sneak preview of the next feature that I'm going to add is if you click on the plus button, it'll allow you to add another WikiTree ID. So I could add, I don't know if there's anyone, if Brian and I were related, if Brian had some French Canadian roots and I added Brian's WikiTree ID there, then it would load his ancestors. And then when I clicked on common, it would show me basically the same sort of thing we have here with the repeats, but instead, not just my repeats, but where my ancestors overlap Brian's ancestors. And so what we'll be able to do is basically see where we're, the joint, where the ancestors we both descend from, and all those multiple paths, if they have multiple paths between us as well. And the same with the single sort of thing.
I can let you know that you will have up to a few millions of different paths between 2 persons.
I know, it's crazy.
I had a lot of problems with that with Connection Finder.
Oh, okay. Well, this is my hope.
And as long as you don't go too many generations back, it should work nicely.
Yeah, I think I'm restricted. Let's see, what did I restrict it to? I think I restricted it to 14. Yeah. Yeah. 14 is quite a bit, but at least it's within the realm of pseudo possible, reasonable. So, but that's an excellent idea, Brian, about adding that sort of an extra parameter there. I haven't done anything yet with the parameters yet with this, but that's definitely something I'm going to keep in mind. So, what about the browser extensions? Jamie, did you want to talk? What's in general what's been happening with the browser extensions this week? I'm going to stop sharing my screen briefly and get set up.
I'm trying to think of what was new this week? I know Kay was adding improvements to biocheck, and Ian added a few more features from B.
And a few new ones.
Hmm?
A few new ones. He made a very nice tool to remove all those club badges from the badge list.
Oh yeah, and he added new feature that wasn't in B. We also had like a lot of discussions about like how to name files and just kind of like
Right.
A lot of it was just organizational stuff again, kind of like how to work together and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. And that's important. Actually, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about this week. After we had some Vue programmers on 2 weeks ago, and we had we talked about the extensions last week. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background that you don't necessarily see up front when you're using these tools. So yeah, even just as simple as naming and how to store it and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, I think naming has probably been the most like controversial thing that we like half of us want something called snake case and the other half want camel case, and so it's been a long time.
And the formatting of the source files. Because each time someone was uploading a file, it was completely changed because the alignment of the lines changed. So it was really. So, for instance, there are quite a few new. I managed to install it in the meantime. So now, if you go to options. We have all the ones that we had. Now we also have a possibility for some extensions to have special options that are displayed here, so you can set up how it looks. Now this will probably start to populate slowly. Now of the extensions, the new one is this. Let me zoom in a bit. So we are the people that do a lot of edits have always this list full of the club badges because they always come to the top. So you have neat options here, hide club badges, and it does all the work. Now just the other badges remained. In the You have also another feature here is that you can move the badges to the end of the list, so it's easier to organize the order of the remaining badges that you want to see. So now this club 1000 will move down the list. You just save it.
Oh, cool.
Done. So I really gave up in the past to remove the badges because it was every few months I had to scroll down and move them away from view. So now this is much easier to do.
So was this your feature request, Alesh?
I got the idea and Ian did it. It was
and Ian did it. Oh, good.
Yeah,
nice.
It was great. So then. What else do we have? We got a new menu feature.
Yes, the My Menu.
My menu that display. Nope. Wait, but I saw that differently before.
Yeah, if you click on it, you should be able to add items to it, right? Do you have to be on a profile page?
You have to click on My Menu, not the link, right?
Oh, so, okay.
Here you can add new links with specific URLs that you often need to jump to, so they're just populate here in the list. And here also you see all the menu items from this. I don't know if this can be ordered or something because I just saw this option. It was published today, so
yes, I saw it too. Yeah, you can order it. You can drag them over. I think you just click on them and they populate, but then you can drag them around. Just I think you just have to click on it.
Wow.
You can select it. Okay, I got it. And now
and then
it's
you drag it up in there in that little My Menu up top.
Okay, got it. So this one was added today also. So kind of quick links. Then I don't know what else was. As Jamie said, some.
Yeah. Did we see dark mode last week? Do you want to just show quickly what dark mode looks like?
Yep.
That was the only other thing you showed exactly what I had circled on my page to visit. That's excellent, Lesh.
Okay. So now I turned it on, and if I refresh, probably it will be dark mode. So that's how it looks for the night.
It's so
the night persons.
So if you're WikiTreeing at night in bed with your iPad and you don't want to wake up your spouse with a bright light.
So sword badges.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there were a few minor adjustments, but I don't know if there's anything else new.
Yeah, I think the big things were the features you showed off, and then also Rob adding the ability for the different features to have their own options.
Yeah,
that was a major change.
Yeah, that's cool. And in fact, it was Rob's code that I stole in the first place to make my settings for the fan chart and the other ones. So, so that was kind of cool. That we're it's slightly different code from what I'm using to what he is, because the extensions and the views work slightly differently in terms of the stuff in the background. Anyways, but the logic was pretty much the same, so that's kind of cool. Nice.
Okay, so
yeah,
that's what I know that is new.
That's what you know. Well, that's great. It's funny that we both were thinking of the exact same thing. Speaking of hacking, do you like Erwin? This is my Hacktoberfest T-shirt.
Oh.
Because the other one hasn't arrived yet. So I made it myself.
That doesn't look like what I ordered at all.
No.
Yeah, I was really hoping to get there in time, but.
Oh well.
But good job hacking for Hacktoberfest.
Exactly. That's exactly. We're all maker. It's like a maker project. But Alesh called me out on it last week. He realized it was a hack job.
Well, it's ironically appropriate, so.
I know, exactly. Exactly. John Tyner says that he started using the menu list. It's great. Hillary likes the dark theme. Very nice. Jutta, you're exactly right. They've done. And I like Kay's comment there. Working on herding cats. Yeah, I think that must be what they feel like sometimes. You mentioned that Kay had added the biocheck to the watch list. Jamie? Yeah.
I think it might just be a button that goes to her biocheck app, but I know she's made improvements to that as well.
Yeah. That's good. So, Jeff, you've got that's one of the things I just sort of wanted to end with and talk about, and we alluded to it briefly earlier, about something as simple as just having a naming structure. And believe it or not, stuff like we've been having discussions about the proper way to space. Do we use 2 spaces or 4 spaces? Do we avoid the tab? Which, I mean, to non-programmers must sound dreadfully painful to discuss and whatnot. But it's actually important. It's one of those things that's important to have some of these programming standards, so that when you jump into another file, another view, another piece of the puzzle of the project, that you don't have to spend, any extra time trying to figure out, where things are and how things are organized and what they look like. Because if you're using the same convention, then you've got that sort of framework already in your head, and then you just know you can jump here, there, and you recognize what you're looking at. So,
Well, and importantly for the file structure in particular is, in addition to everybody sort of looking at the same thing, when a developer pushes up and says, hey, here's a new enhancement or bug fix or whatever that I have, if they have reformatted the file to be a different structure, then the people that are trying to review that change, they see the whole file modified. And so it's hard to say, oh, wait, what's actually changed here? Even though all that changed in 90% of it was that 4 spaces changed to 2, or the line length changed or something like that. So by standardizing on that, whatever is chosen, then we can focus on vetting the actual changes to the code and pushing those through much more quickly, because you can say, oh, this is the change that was made, instead of trying to find it. So it's it really aids collaboration to try to settle on some commonality there when everybody is working on the same set of files at the same time.
I was reviewing a few files, and after 5 minutes, I couldn't actually pinpoint the actual difference between the 2 files because everything was red.
Oh no.
So this formatting will be great.
Yeah, but I think both projects have decided to go with a formatter called Prettier.
Yes.
And so in both projects, there's a special configuration file that we've added to the repository. So when people, make code changes, they can format it in the same format as everyone else. So, so hopefully we won't have the issue with
Yes.
with someone just changes a line of code.
That's right. Well, and then we do have to remember that sometimes computers are stupid, because there was one. I've only had it. After I've done a pull request, there's only 2 times I've actually had to solve a conflict. And one of them, the conflict was a word. It was a 4-letter word, and the 2 middle letters were backwards. And then I fixed it, and it couldn't figure out that was the change. It highlighted both lines in red. Which version of this line do you want? I mean, really, you can't figure that out. So sometimes computers are just stupid. So. The other one took a little bit more work to resolve, but generally, that's why we actually had a discussion today about what's the best way to make your changes, and then when to push it up, or how late do you wait before doing that. So you do it in little bits at a time. So anyone who's watching the progress of the various apps over the week, especially the fan chart, it looks like I'm just adding little wee pieces each time, because that's safer. Anything else did you want to add? Sort of talk. Do you want to talk about some of the? I know something else that's been going on is we've had people who have been that have been reviewing the work that we've been doing and making suggestions on improvements. So do you want to talk about the value of that? And because I know I appreciate it, because that's a skill set that I do not have in great gobs, is to be able to look at someone else's code and be able to pick where things could be better optimized, or where that meets with someone else's. Or maybe it's because I'm just so zoned in on the one thing I'm working on. But
well, I think that's one advantage of both sort of collaborative open source work and the kind of incremental approach that has been taken for most of WikiTree's history is, well, let's make a small improvement. And then you kind of look at it and you come back and say, all right, well, now it would be great if we had this feature. It would be great if this worked that way. And then you try to do that rather than trying to, have a cathedral built all at once. And I think that can work with these dynamic tree and browser extension projects too, where you put something up and say, well, here's a view, and it kind of works, but it could use improvements, and the improvements could be both on the user side of things in terms of styling or formatting or options available, and it can be on the code side of things, where this feature would run a lot faster, or would be easier for other people to improve on if it was written in a slightly different way. And so then you just iterate, and that's the great thing about having it in a public repository, is that somebody else can come along and say, hey, I refactored this one piece of code that it's better, or that it runs better, or hey, I changed the styling on this so that it's cleaner or that it matches the wikitree.com website better. And you can pull in that small bit of improvement and sort of leverage a lot of people's effort on small things to move the whole thing forward.
Yeah, like with the browser extension, I wrote the original like skeleton of it, and then Steve helped by moving his features from his old extension, which was WikiTree Toolkit, I think, into the framework that I built. But I'm pretty sure like all of that code has been changed now because of improvements that other people have made that were like are much more knowledgeable about how to set up a large project like this, and that's good. So.
The options page went through a few iterations of changes until now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the only part of the code that's still mine is maybe the formatting on the little options button that you toggle on and off.
But we want to change that also.
Oh no! Oh no!
But yeah, it's been great having other people like weigh in and then everyone discusses and eventually it after enough people agree, it gets merged in. And
well, it's a great way to learn too. I've been programming for a long time, and I'll see structures that I'm like, oh yeah, right, there is that thing, that's way better. Or I'll see something that I just haven't seen before. There was a CSS with a grid templates, and I had started doing some CSS, flex and grid box stuff, and I hadn't seen the grid template. And I'm like, oh wow, that simplifies a whole bunch of stuff. That's great. I'm going to steal that. So
I haven't used that.
It's nice when lots of people contribute, because you see things that just because of the history of what you've worked on so far, you just haven't come across, and so you get to add those new things to your own toolbox.
Neat. I'll have to check out grid template. I haven't seen that either. Very cool. Steve has a question. I don't know if you can answer that. Do you have to set up the My Menu in every browser?
Yes, because it gets stored in your browser. So
the browser storage.
Yeah.
Okay, and now he has another one. Steve's on a roll here. Is there a transcription app, like to split the screen, one showing the record and another where you can transcribe? Or the record, not the record, the record. Oh.
That's a cool idea.
So would that be in the edit feature? Like when you're editing your page, you'd want something like that?
Or does he mean for this, where there's a transcription of the conversation of the video?
Oh. That's a good question. Steve, maybe you could clarify what you mean by that. And where if it was part of one of our apps or the browser extension, where it would be placed best. Because if it's just a transcription of the YouTube, that's one of the settings after the YouTube is done. For record transcription, like a will or something like that. That's an interesting idea. Yita says she'd like that too.
But you can.
Riel, do you have any comments from your experience so far and jumping in? You were gone for a while, so you came back and just sort of jumped in after. Right?
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can forget in 3 months. What you did before. I had a good friend that when he came back from holiday, he always said, I had a good reset. Memory cleared. I think a lot of the standardization and guidelines and things that have been done is great, because it just makes life easier. I think the one thing that's missing is the common a common directory to move stuff in that's used by, the project I've been working on the dynamic tree, where a lot of things are being reused and it's being duplicated in the various views. But yeah, no. I think we're definitely moving in the right direction.
That's good. Well, that's good. That's your impression after returning this week to work with us. So good sign. We did talk about moving some of those files that are overlapping and being used in various views for the dynamic tree into a common. We just I haven't made it that folder yet. So I don't know if Brian's going to make that. I noticed someone did make some changes to one of the classes that I had created, the people collection class. So people are definitely using that concept. So that'll be something we work on.
I mean, that short name, I fixed up short name in the dynamic view, but I see you using it.
It's used in almost all of them now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to do it.
Be a common function somewhere that we can use.
Yeah. Cool. Great. Well, we're getting close to the top of the clock. So any other comments you want to say?
It's still not too late to join Hacktoberfest if you want to add to stuff, or if you want to test. We always need more testers. And I don't think I mentioned that we have a version on Firefox now. If you use Firefox for the browser extension, if you want to test that, that needs a lot more testing than the Chrome one. So.
Right. Yes. I think this time last week you were just about to publish it, or it might have just been published.
We have that figured out now.
Yeah.
So Ian and I have been publishing it when there's an update. And it does it really fast. Like before we even finish writing like the description of what we changed, they like approve it.
Wow.
on Google,
they're very trusting then.
It takes longer, right?
I think Google's doing it pretty quickly too. From what I've heard, like within half an hour, it's
really, because a few times I waited a few days for extension to get published.
Yeah. But for some reason, the WikiTree one is being published really quickly, which is good.
Nice. What about
Maybe
Safari? That one's hasn't been done yet.
Safari is a lot more complicated. I think so Rob has Sorcerer, and that he has on Safari, but from what I understand, it has to be compiled on a Mac. I don't have one yet. So like I don't know the process for doing it, but now that we have Chrome and Firefox figured out, that is the next step, is to get it working on Safari.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Well, I do have a Mac if you need to loop me into the process there. Good. Well, thanks everyone for coming out. Again, this will be we won't be doing this next Thursday, but we will be having you get lots of sleep on Thursday so that you can join us starting at 8 in the morning on Friday for the WikiTree Symposium, and then WikiTree Day, which it was all day Saturday, 10 o'clock, right, put that down on your calendar, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. We'll have the technology panel, which will be the official closing of the Hacktoberfest project. And we'll be talking about all the things that we've done, and sort of the past, present, future of technology and WikiTree as we see it, and it'll be a lot of fun. So enjoy the last few days of Hacktoberfest and keep Hacktoberfesting away, and we'll see you sometime next week. And I'm just trying to find the video. Where to go? Here we go.